man, what a week. What a week. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Payoff Pitch, sponsored by Ryan Allison Tattoos, Durham Home Remodeling, Outlier.bet, and Beat the Book, the #1 betting social media app on all across platforms, all over the App Store. My name's Dan. I'm here with Drew. We're here to break down the first 2 weeks of the season. We're going to go over everything from who's hot, who's not, talking about the horrendous Angel Hernandez fiasco that was the first 2 weeks of the season as well. Drew, what's been your thoughts so far, first 2 weeks of the year?
Man, there's a lot to break down, and everything from, elbow injuries to bad strike calls to it's just a lot. I'm really excited for baseball, and this is part of why I love baseball, is the drama surrounding it. So
yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, I think if you told me that the Guardians would be #1 in the Central and that the Athletics would be top 3 in the AL West right now at the start of the season, I would have called you high. But we're here. First segment, we're going to go ahead and get right on into it. Who's hot, who's not? Drew, who has been the big hot team that's come across your board that's been notable to you so far this year?
I think this one's pretty much a no-brainer. It's got to be the Yankees. They have the best record in baseball at 12-3 right now. In fact, they just came off a doubleheader in Cleveland against a team that you mentioned is really hot right now. In fact, they were 9-3 coming into that game, and they dropped both of them back-to-back in the same day in Cleveland. The offense is just absolutely on a roll. Pitching has actually been better than I thought it was, and Garrett Cole has made his return. So, I've got to go with the Yankees. So.
Yeah, I couldn't put them on the list because I would get disowned, so I stayed away from that one. But because I think more because I tried to look for the team that we didn't expect them to be this hot, and the team that we didn't expect to kind of really play. Like, I think we kind of expected the Yankees to be like this, but I have an honorable mention for mine that I might mention a little bit later but I've talked about them way too much on the show. So if you know who,
I already know who you've
been watching our show, you already know who I'm talking about, and I'm pumping my chest right now. But my hot team, I'm going with the Brewers. I kind of had a 2-way tie between the Brewers and the Pirates, but the Brewers, they're 10-3. Obviously, they had a couple of rain-out games. But this was the team that traded their ace. Was their next best pitcher was out till I think almost August in Woodruff, if he comes back at all this year. Their starting pitching outside of Peralta has not been good, but they are hitting the ball. Yelich is back to like an MVP level form, and their bullpen has just been absolutely amazing without their best relief pitcher in Devin Williams. So I think with the NL Central that everyone thought was kind of gonna be like very close race between like the Cubs and the Cardinals, I don't think anyone was expecting the Brewers to come out 10-3 to start the year.
Absolutely, and like you mentioned, Yelich. I mean, their offense has been really good. But I'll save that for a little bit later.
And the cold seat here, the knots. Who has just been ice cold to start this year? I got one. I have a second one in case you say the one that I'm thinking of. So let's go ahead with yours.
I've got the Giants. I mean, they've had a really tough schedule to start the year, but that's to be expected. I mean, they play in a tough division, so it's not going to get any easier. And they had a really bad loss to the Nationals last week. They lost to them 8-1. I mean, and they got swept by the Dodgers, which I understand the Dodgers are a good team, but if you're going to contend, you've got to be able to win those games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think again, it's like it's a weird situation where Blake Snell's first game. I mean, obviously, I feel like this far into the season, everyone's kind of starting their rhythm, and he's just getting going. So I wasn't expecting a lot from that game, but yeah, a big deficit like that was not on mine. I got the Houston Astros on mine. You have. I mean, obviously, their starting pitching has just been depleted. But you're 5-11, and it doesn't help that you played the Rangers 7 times already, and the 11 of your 11 of your 16 games have been the Rangers and the Yankees. But the big one for me, and it was a statement point for, especially because they're going up against the Braves on Monday, is they got swept by the Royals. And like at first, like I mean, like I said, I'm on the Royals bandwagon this year. It was their 3, 4, and 5 guys at the end of the bullpen, at the end of the rotation. This wasn't Reagan's. This was Lugo, Wacha, and I don't even know who their fifth starter is because it's not Singer. Singer's the second in the rotation, um, but they got no, they did face Reagan, so they did face the 1, 2, 3. I'm lying, but still, they got beat 13-3, 11-2, and 4-3 against this Royals team who has been hot. Honorable mention will be the Royals there, but the Astros just look god awful, and I like. You got to question: is it new management? Is it the rotation issue? Because you have one of the top 7, 8, 9 inning pitchers with Presley and Hader at the back end of your bullpen. You just can't use them right now because your team can't score.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that. Hunter Brown, actually, in that 13-3 loss, Hunter Brown set an MLB record for most hits allowed in less than 1 inning pitched. He gave up 11 hits and 9 runs. I mean, you can't do that. You don't even give your team a chance to win that game, really.
And not to mention, it was all singles. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't even like outside of the Bobby Witt home run, it was all singles. Like maybe like one double, but it was like I'm looking at the game log right now, and like single scores a run. Single, there was only 2 extra base hits in that entire inning out of 11, and and that's one thing to really talk about with the Royals is not only are they, they're not killing you with power, they're just getting good at bats and they're getting on base, and that's the most important thing right now. So I don't know where you go with the Astros. I mean, obviously the A's and the Angels are probably due for a little regression. I don't see them finishing second and third in this division. But also shout out to the Angels pitching staff because they've played great.
I'm glad that you mentioned.
Has been great. Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned the A's because I think they're really excited about playing in a minor league stadium in Sacramento next year.
And it's like, dude, they're not even like hiding it anymore. Estorio Ruiz is their best player, and they sent him down to AAA because they caught him wearing merch with "Sell the Team" on it because he wants to stay there. He doesn't want the team to move. Like, still, like it's like they saw what the Washington Commanders did when they changed their name and said, we're going to double it. So I don't even know where you go with that. But hot and not, we're going to probably keep this one going every week because for who's hot this week. But this is the segment I am most interested in today to see your thoughts. So we have a couple people lined up on the card for this. And I saw the Orioles do this in one of their broadcasts. So I figured we'd bring it in. Are you pushing or pausing? Pushing the panic button. Do you push the panic button yet on the St. Louis Cardinals?
I don't yet. I think that their early season is more indicative of their schedule than anything else. And they're playing in a tough division, so obviously they can't keep playing what they played. But to start the season, they played the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Padres, and the Diamondbacks. So I can't really place a whole lot of blame. I mean, yeah, again, same argument with the Dodgers. If you're expecting to contend, you've got to win games. But once they get into the meat of their division schedule, I think things will kind of even out. I mean, I think I expected them to win somewhere around 85 games. So, if they can win their division games, they'll be in good shape. So I'm not ready to hit the panic button yet. I'll pause that.
I'm the opposite of you. I think I'm getting very close to pushing it. I mean, obviously, again, we're 13, 14 games into the season, so I think there's a little, and like you said, they did have a good, but this next week is going to be their test because they have Oakland on the road, and then they come back and they play 6 straight games against the Brewers and the Diamondbacks. If they cannot win, if they can't go 500 in that, then I might push the panic button because you look at their team stats, they're 20th in runs scored, 19th in hits. Like their top prospect, last year, Jordan Walker, he's hitting 190 this year. Their average is in the bottom tier. On base percentage, they have a lower on base percentage than the Rockies and the A's. Their slugging is bottom tier. Their home runs are bottom tier. They're the third worst stolen base team. They're giving up the 10th most runs. They're not giving up a lot of hits. That's the big thing. It's all walks. They have like the batting average is low. Their pitchers are doing their job. They cannot score, and that's the thing is they invested so much into their corner infielders, and they're starting to show the signs of regression you don't want to see. So I don't know where you go from here with this team because they're starting to regress at the time that every team in this division is going forward. And that's the scary thing is that they don't have the caps. They don't have the money right now to spend on it, it feels like. And I don't I don't think players are wanting to go out to St. Louis when like this is a division that could, I think by the end of the season, every team could be within 10 games of each other. Like I think every team has a case for winning the division this year. And that's the scary thing is if a team that was supposed to be rebuilding is leading your division and you have 3 teams ahead of you that are hot and they're all young players and studs, I might push the panic button and just take the rebuild. But I'm going to wait on that. We might come back to that one in May. Push the panic button too. Bobby Miller. I want to see your thoughts on this because I've seen a lot of people on the Bobby Miller hate train right now. So I kind of I'm curious your thoughts on that one.
So he started off really strong. In his first outing, he had 11 strikeouts. And then the last couple of outings, for context, he was just placed on the 15-day IL, retroactive to the 11th. So he's expected to miss at least until the 26th. So he'll be out for the next couple of weeks. But his velocity was down, and he struggled against the Cubs and the Twins. But they're saying it's due to shoulder inflammation. And if that's the case, then I don't know if I'm ready to pause the panic button on his performance, on his health, maybe. So let's keep an eye on that. I'm somewhere in the middle.
I'm not going to hit the button. And the main reason I'm saying not is you got to remember the kid's 25.
Yeah.
He was literally born a year. He was born 3 days and a year after me.
Well, if we're talking about just this season, then I would.
I think yeah. I think the thing is you have one of the best pitching staffs out in LA because every year they find some guy and turn his career. Like you said, like we saw with Josiah Gray, he tried to pitch through an injury, then they put him on IL when he was just struggling. My thing is it wasn't just the velocity; is he could not hit his mark. Like I was watching their game against the Twins, and when he was getting the ball in the zone, it was too far in the zone. Like what we saw last year when he played Atlanta was even without his velocity, he was making you work to where you had to swing at that pitch. And he's just not he's not like his slider is great, but he's not throwing it he wasn't throwing it on 2 strike counts. He wasn't putting it in positions to force you to swing at this pitch that is definitely going to tail 5 feet out of the strike zone.
Well, yeah,
so I'm not pushing the panic button. I think once he comes off the IL, again, I think this is a guy I'm waiting until maybe June. I'd give him to the All-Star break, and then I would start being very cautious with him in the next year or two.
Well, and that kind of would segue for me into a separate topic of, the pitch clock and does it contribute to pitching injuries and mechanic issues with pitchers. He's a high velo guy. I think he averages around 98 miles an hour on his fastball when he's healthy. So, and you mentioned the command issues. I think he had in 4 innings pitched against the Twins. I think he had 4 or 5 walks. So, and that's not a team that is known for their offense this year.
No, they're the worst right-handed hitting team right now. He had 3 walks, 4 Ks, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, and a home run. And he honestly, he didn't get pulled because he was pitching bad. Like he really didn't. It was just his first inning, he threw like 32. He was at 55 pitches in 2 innings. There's very few pitchers that start that way and don't get pulled by the 4th. So I wasn't surprised he was pulled, but it ruined a bet I made.
Unless you're Hunter Brown.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're Hunter Brown. But I mean, he pitched well, and he pitched better. I wouldn't say I would say he pitched better than he did against the Cubs for sure. I think it was a good bounce back game for him, but like if he wasn't 100% from his shoulder, then I'm saying that was a decent outing. I'm not saying it's a great one, obviously, because we've seen what he can do. Like you start the season 11 Ks and then you can't get the ball over the plate. But yeah, I'm waiting on him. I really like Bobby Miller. I know it's weird saying that about a Dodgers player because every time I say like I like a player, something goes wrong. But moving on, we talked about them a second ago. The Houston Astros. Are you pushing the panic button?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's been rough, and they've struggled with injuries in their starting rotation at different points throughout the spring training and the early season. If their offense doesn't get any better, their pitching isn't really supporting them. So I'm pressing the panic button on that one, especially in that division.
Yeah, I
you can't start out 5-11.
My thing with them is they're hitting 263 right now with runners in scoring positions. So like obviously they're not hitting like the best. They're hitting a little bit above average. But the big thing for me is I'm trying to look at their their stats for in scoring position. They've had 150 at bats. They've struck it out 32 times with runners in scoring position. That already is not good. With runners in scoring position and there's 2 outs, they're hitting better. But again, they're striking out at nearly like over 20% rate with 2 outs. And the bats aren't hitting well, or the bats are hitting well. The pitching just not there. And I think that's the scary thing is like the big thing with this team is they could put 10 runs on you easily. But then the minute you're like, okay, I can get a run in, they have a bullpen that's great, but they don't have starters that can go past 2 innings. Javier and Valdez are not really in my I wouldn't say they're an ace, but like when you have Verlander. But I worry about this team. I don't think this is a year they're going to make the playoffs because again, we talked about it before with like the AL Central and the AL there's a division right now where every team in that division is either 500 or a game below 500. And literally like it's way too early obviously for a wild card, but like Houston has a huge hole to fill to get to that point. And like obviously like they're at like the 4th worst record in the AL right now. Obviously I don't see them being that bad, but the Mariners are going to catch stride in July like they always do. The Angels are probably going to stay at this rate, like a little bit above 500. And the way the Tigers, the Guardians, the Royals, and like the Orioles and the Red Sox, honestly, are even playing right now, I don't think they're making the playoffs this year.
Well, to end the month, they've got kind of a mixed bag, but they're on the road a lot. So it looks like they play. So they're coming in tomorrow to play Atlanta for a 3-game set. 3 days in a row, actually, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They're playing in Atlanta. And then they go on the road, then they come home to play the Nationals. They get a little bit of a relief there. And then they go out then they host a 3-game set against the Cubs. And then they have to go to Denver for 2 games. So yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag, but like I said, they're coming into Atlanta tomorrow, so we'll see. That'll be a big test for them.
Yeah, and my thing is too, on the road, they're 7th worst right now in on base percentage on the road, and that's worrisome. Because the thing is I always like the one comparison I always give for baseball is it's like college basketball. If you can win on the road, then you can win a title.
Oh man, they've got sorry.
And it's like if you can't win your games on it, not just like, oh, we're going to Washington, we're going to Oakland. If you have like the situational awareness to know, like, hey, we're playing our in-state rival on the road, we gotta win at least one. if we lose, it can't be blowouts. It's got to be safe situations. Like, and I just don't think that team has it this year.
Man, they start May against the Guardians, and then they play the Mariners for 3 games, and then the Yankees for 3 games. That's brutal.
Yeah, and that's scary. But so we got 3 more. We're gonna try to speed through these really quickly and hit our first ad break. Twins, are you pushing the panic button? I'm gonna go ahead and say yes. I mean, this is a horrendous team. They can't get anything done. I'm looking at right now. They have the worst batting average in baseball, and not even just the worst batting average. If you go into the splits of like righties versus lefties, they are hitting 178 versus righties with runners in scoring position. They're hitting 128. They have had 117 at bats with runners in scoring positions. They've had 15 hits and only 8 extra base hits. They've struck out 42 times. They're striking out at almost a 40% clip. Runners in scoring position. I with the way this division's going right now, I don't think they're going to finish 4th, but there's no shot they're making the playoffs at this point. I'm hitting the panic button. I'm worrying about what do you do with Buxton's contract? Do you let Correa opt out and walk on his deal? Like, where do you go from here if you're the Twins?
Oh, I mean, to be fair, I didn't really expect a whole lot from them, but yeah, I'm pressing the panic button as well. Both the Royals and the Guardians are on the tear right now. I know you're really big on the Tigers to make a push this year compared to last year.
Don't forget my Royals, baby.
And then, at this point, the only way they're not going to finish, I think they might finish 4th. I mean, thankfully the White Sox are the White Sox. They're absolutely garbage this year.
The Guardians should slow down. They always hit this like spot in June and July where it's just like this, like all this effort they give like slowly dies out and they start getting exhausted every game and they just can't hit. So I'm kind of waiting for that regression to hit. For them, like I don't think they're gonna drop drastically, but I think we get, because every year they're the team that we always hear, are they gonna trade all their players? Are they gonna trade all their, and then they never do. So it's like I think we're gonna be in another position of that again this year.
Oh yeah, they've been talking about trading Byron Buxton for what, 5 years now?
Yeah.
I mean, they're right around 500. They're 1 game under 500. I mean, I pegged them to be – I pegged the division winner here to be around 500 or just over 500 like last year. So, I mean, it's not out of the question. They play in one of the – it's not the greatest division, and we'll say that.
Yeah. But so we got 2 more. We'll try to get through these quick because one of them had a great game yesterday, so we could probably maybe take him off this list. But Max Fried, I'm not pushing the panic button. I think he just had 2 rough – we wouldn't even have him on this list except for that one bad call, and that's truly it, because that one bad call screwed him over in Philly. Like obviously his last start before the Marlins game was horrendous, but like we wouldn't even be having this conversation if the ump had called the right call on that play.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. I mean, Max has always been, to me at least, a player that seems to be, when he's on, he's on. When he's not, he's in his own head. And so I think that call really didn't help him at all. So that's true. I mean, he's got one of the people, I think they have the best offense in baseball, in my opinion, over the course of a 162 game season behind him. And so I don't, and he's got one of the, he's got 4 All-Stars behind him in the field, 5 All-Stars. If you include Acuna or 6, if you include Harris and Acuna in the outfield, so
yeah,
he doesn't need to be the best pitcher on the planet for them to win games. He just has to keep them in the game. So,
yeah, absolutely. So last one here, I think we may have differing opinions on this one. Are you pushing the panic button on Kevin Gausman? I just added this one last minute, so I know it's not in our script, but I was just thinking about this one. Are you pushing the panic button on him?
I mean, given his career, I don't think you can push the panic button. I always am of the opinion that things revert back to the norm when it comes to baseball. I
I get what you're saying there, but I mean, like, I'm gonna read off some of these stats to you. He is 11th in most amount of barrels this year. He's giving up a barrel every 17% of all of the batted ball events. He's giving for like plate appearance, he's giving up one every 12. He's giving up hard hits on he's given up a hard hit percentage of a ball hit 95 miles an hour or farther or harder 50% of his 50% of the time when the ball is hit hard, it's went over 100 miles an hour. His line drive ratio, fly ball to line drive ratio is terrible right now. His average exit velocity, the ball is going out at 95 miles an hour off his bat. He's given up sweet spots in 47% of his at bats he's faced. I was so set on him to have a bounce back game against Colorado, and I looked and I saw, like when he played Colorado last time, he got smoked, and it was in Coors Field, but he got smoked again. He's gotten smoked every game. I don't know if it's just I don't know what happens when players go to Toronto and then they just start like they have like a bounce back year and then they have a bad year, but like he just his stuff isn't working. And like I wonder if like is this the Kevin Gossman we saw when he was on the Braves, where he had after the great year he started struggling, or is this just he can't get a grip on the ball well enough right now, or even is it the pitch clock? Because the thing is that like we talked about before, batters are now getting used to the pitch clock, and now it's on the pitchers to get adjusted to the pitch clock. Batters can stand in there for 5 seconds and go. The pitcher's got to consistently do this for 10 seconds and worry about the batter. So,
well, and they got to worry about the runner on first base.
Exactly. Like I might push the panic button on him because I don't see like I'm looking when his next start is. His next start as of now is God, why is my phone not working? His next start will be on. His next start is going to be against the Yankees.
Oof.
And then after that, his next start is the Royals.
Is he playing in New York?
No, that's in Toronto. That'll be in Toronto. But his next 3 starts are the Yankees, the Royals, the Dodgers to end April. When you're going through a rough spot, those are not the teams you want to see. So, but he's been known to play up to his competition. My computer tried to update really fast and kicked me out.
This is my show now, Daniel.
Yeah.
He started out strong. I don't know. I mean, his first game, and I've seen that on a lot. I've seen that for a lot of pitchers recently. I don't know what it is about this year. I really am curious. 20 years from now, when we look back at the splits pre and post pitch clock, at things like injuries and pitch tempo and things like that, we already know that the pitch clock has changed the overall time of the game. On average, games are shorter by about 20 minutes, right? 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, in his first start at the Rays, he only pitched 4.1 innings, but he did have 6 strikeouts. So
yeah, but the Rays have been swinging at everything this year. So like, I mean, I just don't know. I'm like really worried how he's going to do the rest of the year. But with that being said, we're going to go to our first quick little ad break. We'll be back in just a minute. We're going to go over our weekly awards and what the hell is going on with Angel Hernandez. So stay tuned. Also, guys, make sure you guys stay tuned to the end. We're going to have our parlay of the day for every Sunday started up this week. We have a great one that you can use on DraftKings with a stepped up boost and get it up to plus 400. So make sure you guys are going to lock that in. Stay tuned for that. We'll be right back.
Football season may be over, but for frequency's sake still has you covered for all your sporting needs. Tune in every Sunday when the best professional wrestling podcast around, Cards Subject to Change, gets you caught up on everything inside the ropes. They won't miss a count with weekly analysis and interviews. More into auto racing? We've got a double dose for you on the track. Tune in to Fast Money with Rod Villagomez each week and win some money with the quickest bets in all of sports. Want more insight from Pit Row? Check out the Green, White, and Checkered podcast where they give their insight on everything happening on and off the track. Need your basketball fix? Points in the Paint has you covered with live shows every other week looking at everything in the association. Backed by popular demand, we have the return of the Payoff Pitch, FFSQC's baseball show, covering you on news around the MLB. If you're missing football, don't fret. Mark and Dan still have you covered in the football lounge. Missing Joe Winkle? Probably not, but he's still here talking sports on Educated Ignorance. Football season might be over, but we've still got you covered. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
For frequency's sake is brought to you by Durham Remodeling, serving the Quad City area's remodeling and repair needs since 1973. Clint's Draft House, grab a bite and a pint. 7th Street, Moline. Lopez, New York-style pizza served up by the slice or pie, Davenport. Lifted Energy, energy drinks, coffee, donuts, and more. #GetLifted. Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles. Sports cards and memorabilia, vintage clothing, hats, pennants, and more. Ryan Allison Tattoo. Step into the vibrant world of tattoos with Ryan Allison. And A Cut Above, offering quality custom woodwork designed specifically around our customers.
Alrighty, we are back. Let's get right into it. Again, as we just put in the comments, if you guys have any questions about today's games, today's matchup, or anything about your favorite team on any of their players' prospects, let us know in the comments. We are going to answer as many questions as we can. We're going to try to get through these as quick as we can. But let's get into our weekly MVP, weekly Cy Young Awards segment. Drew, who is your weekly MVP for this week?
So I've got one, but I've got an honorable mention as well. So my MVP of this week is William Contreras. He absolutely tore the cover off the ball this week. He went 11 for 26 for the first place Milwaukee Brewers. He had 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, and 2 walks. And on top of that, he plays pretty decent, above average defense at a premium position at catcher. So he's my MVP of the week. And then I've got an honorable mention as well. I mentioned Shohei Ohtani. Shocker, I know. But he had 6 doubles and 10 RBIs this week. So only reason that he, wasn't ahead of Contreras is because, he doesn't play, he doesn't play on the defensive side of the field. And, Contreras, he also makes a heck of a lot more money than Contreras does. So you expect a lot more from him. The $700 million man should have 6 doubles. Even that I don't think is enough, really. But
I like that. Mine. So I'm going with a player who he's from the Braves, Marcell Ozuna.
Big Bear.
Wow. Compared to last April, he's on an 8 since the White Sox game on April 3rd when they were playing through all this rain and snow and stuff, and it was just god awful. Not even actually, because he didn't even play that game. Since game 2 of the season, he has gotten a hit in every single game. Every single game since game 2. He's hitting .352 with 6 home runs, 17 RBIs, only struck out 11 times, and he's drawing walks. Not to mention, you look at, he is currently tied for first in home runs. He's third in RBIs. He's gotten, I think he's like 6th in hits. And he's just been he's tied 5th for hits with 19 hits. Only players who've gotten more hits than him so far this year: Ohtani, McMahon, Betts, and Will Smith. That's it. He's tied with Freeman, Gurriel, and Contreras for hits. He has been an absolute stud. Now the big worry is he going to go through a slump? But I'm riding the Marcell Ozuna hot train right now. He's been absolutely amazing this week.
I agree. But again, I always have kind of an issue with, saying anyone's an MVP if they don't play defense. But he's the DH, so I guess it works.
I mean, so, like, that's what you want from your DH. You want your DH to be at like hitting top 5 in home runs, top 10 in hits. Like, I mean, that's literally his job. Like, it's not like, oh, here's an extra bat. It's, hey, we need that bat that's going to smack the ball. And that's what I'm looking for at a DH, and he's fitting that, just like Ohtani. He's fitting that role perfectly right now.
Yeah, and he is. I think I'm just old school. I like to see Max Fried pick up the bat. So
yeah. I know you want your pitchers hitting .098 to go up there with bases loaded and 2 outs instead of Kelnick or Duvall or someone like that. Weekly Cy Young. I'm gonna go first with this one. I have one I really like here, and I'm gonna live or die on this one. Reed Detmers was absolutely amazing in this last week. He was a stud. He pitched really well. Watching Angels games, he always worries me because if his stuff isn't working, he gets smoked. But he pitched 2 games this week. He pitched 12 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 19 strikeouts, and 3 walks. That's insane. Especially for a guy who's a contact pitcher lately. That's insane. I was big on Detmers. I think he got a lot of hype because he threw a no-hitter in his first game. But that's absolutely insane going on as bad of an Angels team as this is. Going 19 Ks and 3 walks with a team that's known for walking everyone. So I love that. I love Detmers. I'm sold on him. He's going to be a stud.
Yeah, I like that one. That's a great pick. I kind of went chalk on this one. He only pitched in 1 game, but Tyler Glasnow had 14 strikeouts in 7 innings pitched, and he only threw 88 pitches. Granted, we already talked a little bit about the Twins, the team he pitched against, but it was in Minnesota. And their offense is absolutely atrocious. It's pitiful. But I mean, I got to give it to Glasnow for this week. He's got the game ball.
Yeah, I would say that. I think that, and that's the thing with Glasnow is when his stuff's on, it's hard. It's so hard to hit. Like we saw it when his first game back last year from injury. He struck out like 10. Like he's just a stud.
I actually wanted to mention one other player, but not as a Cy Young, but somebody, again, I mentioned it before, who's just been kind of disappointing. Emerson Hancock, man, he's really struggling right now.
Or cousin.
Yeah. No. But in two games, he's 0-2. He only pitched 9.1 innings, but he gave up 15 hits and 10 runs.
I would even say that whole pitching staff has just got awful. Like Castillo has struggled. Like Gilbert didn't pitch the best. Like Hancock's just been terrible. And
in 2 games he hasn't even made it to 5 innings. So
yeah, they just look awful. And I hate that their offense is so good it's kept them alive in a lot of their games because it's like as a bettor, it's great because you start getting a lot of value on stuff that they shouldn't have because of it. Take the Cubs money line at plus money right now. I'm begging you, please do it. But yeah, I just don't trust. Like you can't trust they don't have anyone in their pen outside of Munoz, and then if you're not putting runs up, if your defense is terrible, you can't really do anything with that.
I know you're usually pretty high, especially this year on the Mariners, but I just don't see it, man.
Yeah, no, I'm just not sold.
I really am not. I this year they were my team like on MLB The Show where it was like I'm gonna bring them their first championship, but I'm doing the Royals this year because I love them so much.
Oh, next year for me it'll be the Sacramento.
They've just been terrible, and it's just they're that team that there's always a team. There's like I don't know if it's a term, but I think a lot of bettors have that team where it's like you can't get a read on them. And not even in a like, I bet on them and they lose, I bet against them, they win, but just to like, you don't know what's coming every single day. And that's why it's hard to touch them. So, but yeah, those are our weekly MVP Cy Youngs. Let's get into the tall and skinny. Do you want to do the elbows or do you want to do Angel Hernandez first?
Man, we got to talk about Angel Hernandez. How does that guy still have a job? That's the most powerful sports union on the planet. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's been bad. That's the thing. He's consistently rated as the worst umpire in baseball. And I don't know. Can we share that clip here?
Yeah, I was actually about to pull it up.
I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't know how you call any of those strikes. It's just inexcusable. I mean, there has to be some accountability. Like, can we get into finding umpires for stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm about to pull it up on YouTube right now.
I mean, even just
got to be kidding me. Can someone seriously fire Angel Hernandez? All right, we got a lot to talk about. Don't you move a muscle.
This is from John Boy Media, so
should have been ball 4.
2-2. You have got to be kidding me. What in the world?
Yeah, you like
calling freaking kidding me.
Like I guess you could almost say like his like the only way I could justify that is the slider like looked like it hit the front of the plate. In all honesty, like it looked like it could have hit the plate, but
well, you know, in last year too, it was Angel Hernandez talked about not getting any World Series games and made a big fuss about it. But it's how are we going to give you a World Series game to officiate if that's your call? I'm sorry. I mean, you can't excuse that.
And not to mention,
and it was 3 pitches in a row. It wasn't just that was the strikeout, which was the most egregious one. But 3 pitches in a row, for Wyatt Langford. So each one, it got progressively worse, and he didn't swing at any of the 3 pitches. And he got rung up on 3 straight pitches, and he should have been on first base. If I'm Bruce Bochy, I have to pull that kid aside and say, hey man, don't worry about it. Show him the ump scorecard. And say, that was good plate discipline. Don't worry about it. It was just bad officiating.
I'm actually going to look up his scorecard for that.
I think so. They said he had 6 calls that were supposed to be strikes that were called balls. And I think he had 12 balls that were called strikes. In fact, I think it said it was almost 2 full runs in favor of the Astros, who still lost, 8-1?
Yeah, you know what it is? It's like because they have to be within a certain percentage. So he gets in that percentage, and then, but I mean, he just like he had a 91% accuracy in that game.
But the average in a game is 94.
The incorrect call rate 6.63, which is like the 3rd highest in baseball this year. So I just no like, and I saw that like if you look at the pitch chart, it looks like a pitch out. Like it looks like they were just trying to walk him.
Yeah, that looks like what you would see if you're up against Ohtani with the game on the line. You're just like, just don't give him anything to hit.
Yeah,
and he didn't swing. He didn't swing at anything.
It's like, and then not to mention when the Jays and Yankees played this year, Volpe they called a ball on Volpe and it was at his head, or they called that a strike. And then literally the next at bat, there was a pitch right down the middle. They called it a ball. Like, it's just like I get like you got to make up for calls sometimes, but like you can't do it on a pitch down the middle or a pitch above his head. Like it's just getting to like we saw like,
that?
Huh?
Where do you rank that in comparison to that pitch to Max Fried? Or that Max Fried threw?
I have, you know me, I have Braves bias. Like the difference is I mean, the one with JP France and Wyatt Langford is bad because it ends an inning. The one with Max Fried is terrible because it walked a run in. And it you know, what would have happened if that was strike 3 and you gave Max Fried a good 2-3 minutes or like 5-10 minutes to go sit in the bullpen and reassess, right? The one against like Volpe and stuff was like, it was like first 2 pitches of the account, I believe. Don't hold me to that. But no, I just think it's like, I would put it up there as arguably one of the worst calls of all time. Like, did you ever see that video of the college game, like D2 college game, where an umpire got showed up by a player and the next pitch was like 5 feet off the plate and he called it strike 3 as like a retaliation?
No, I haven't seen
Yeah,
that.
I'll have to find the clip and like show it to you. But there was literally an umpire in like a Southeast Louisiana game, like university game. The guy argued strike 2. The next pitch was outside of the opposite batter's box, and the guy called it strike 3 as a retaliation. He got banned for life. He can't umpire anymore. They took his license away and everything. Why are we letting Angel Hernandez do this? But
I don't know.
Nonetheless, we're because we only got about 10 minutes here, so let's get like the arm injuries this year have just been crazy. Now Strider is out for the year. Shane Bieber's out for the year. We're seeing like a bunch, not even just elbows anymore. Players are like, we're seeing more players go on the IL for shoulder inflammation.
Yeah, like Bobby Miller, we mentioned him earlier.
Yeah. Like it's getting what, like, is it the pitch clock? Is it, I saw something, I'm actually going to go a little bit against it's the pitch clock, because I saw something the other day that it was like guys are trying harder and harder to throw junk pitches with velocity now. Like, think about it. Like, a curveball is designed to go anywhere from 70 to 80 at the professional level. Why are guys trying to throw 90-mile-an-hour curveballs on a regular basis? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I'm looking at it now. I'm looking at the IL now. You have there's 2 pitchers on the Diamondbacks that are on the IL for shoulder tightness and sore elbow. You have Strider out for the year. Ian Anderson's still out for the year from his injury. You have
Waskari Noah.
Bradish is out with an elbow injury. John Means, arm injury. Ciano Perez, oblique. You could even go down far enough. Felix Bautista, elbow, and they had to do a nerve like they had to move a position of his nerves because of how hard he throws. You have Pavetta out. You have Hendricks is out with an elbow injury. Like, we've gotten to Giolito's out for the year. They got him like 2 days in. Justin Steele's out.
Listen to this list. Listen to this list. Jeff Passan at ESPN.com put out this article on April 8th. And in the last 2 years, listen to this list. Shohei Ohtani, Jacob deGrom, Sandy Alcantara, Robbie Ray, Shane McClanahan, Walker Buehler, Lucas Giolito, Felix Bautista, Dustin May, Andrew Painter, Shane Bass, Kumar Rocker, Garrett Cole. I mean, and that doesn't even include Spencer Strider, Shane Bieber, and Yuri Perez. And that all happened within a 48-hour period.
Because it's gotten to the point where, like, we used to see the guys who could throw 100 for 100 pitches, and we used to say, oh, those are the freaks of nature. Every team wants them. You never really get them. You had, like, there's a reason for that. There's a reason those guys that throw 100 miles an hour rarely make it far in the league. Or when they do, everything starts because, like, that's why I'm glad Strider added the curveball, because it adds him another pitch. But it's like I said this a couple of years ago, and I was 100% wrong on this take. I said Strider should have went to the bullpen and been a closer, because when you're throwing nothing but fastballs and sliders at 100 miles an hour, I'd rather see that in the 9th inning than the 2nd. But, I mean, obviously, he's a Cy Young candidate every single year. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball, so you can't. But it's getting to a point where these guys are trying to throw 100, 102 to get past them, but their elbows aren't there. And that's the thing. So I don't like, I mean, look, you got Kyle Wright still out with a shoulder injury. Bubich is out with an elbow injury. You can go all the way down to like teams like, I mean, the Dodgers, Bobby Miller, shoulder inflammation. Buehler coming back from an elbow injury. Trainin had a little bit of a shoulder inflammation with his chest injury. Gurderall, shoulder. Sheehan, forearm. Kershaw, shoulder. Kershaw throws how he throws. Gonsolin, elbow. Dustin May, elbow. So, like, all of these pitchers, Edward Cabrera, the guy who throws a 100-mile-an-hour sinker, shoulder injury. It's getting to the point where either the league as a whole, they're going to have to look at how these guys are pitching. And, like, teams are going to have to say, like, all right, are you willing to risk your career to have, like, four elbow surgeries in the first 8 years of your career just to throw like this? Because
it's gonna get to a point, I think, where, or it's getting already maybe to the point where pitchers have the shelf life kind of like a running back in the NFL. And, you know, it's just like, hey, man, we're going to get 2, 3, 4, 5 years out of you. We're going to run you into the ground and then say sayonara, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, you know, and so I think it's going to get even deeper than that. I think you're going to see from an early age, kids are going to get taught to pitch differently, just like people are being taught to tackle differently in football.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, I remember as a kid, there was like when we played Little League, there was always that one kid whose parents taught him how to throw curveballs and change ups too early. And he blew his elbow out. And now it's just, okay, well, because it's gotten to a point where it's like, well, if you mess up a junk ball, you give him a ball over the middle. But if you can't mess up 100-mile-an-hour fastball because they're going to duck on it every time. But yeah, no, it's really worrying to see. Like, I obviously, like, it's like, do you want to risk Strider having a career like DeGrom, where when he's in, he's the best pitcher in baseball, but he's going to constantly get hurt with this. But also, before we get over to our play of the day, shout out to Nolan Shanuel on the Angels for the worst baseball injury in history yesterday, testicular contusion. He got hit with a line drive. He's out with, like, I'm looking at the report. It says, he's out. This guy's out 15 days, elbow injury, sore quad, sick, testicular contusion, hit with a ball. So rip to Nolan Shanuel and his potential future children. So, but with that being said, let's get into my favorite part of the day. As we're talking about this, Marco Gonzalez on the Pirates on the 15-day IL shoulder strain and a forearm strain.
Oh, that's just
he doesn't even throw 100. He throws like 85. But it's just showing they're getting to a point where everything's getting hurt like this. But so now on to our play of the day. We have a 3-leg parlay for you guys today. I didn't get a chance to make a graphic, so that's on me because I made this like 5 minutes before the show started. But our play of the day, if you do this on DraftKings, you can get a stepped up boost. It boosted it from, let me double check the odds real quick, because it boosted it from a 293 to a 352. So $10 gets you $45 back in total return. It is the the Orioles money line, Blue Jays money line, and Royals money line. So I'll break it down real quick. We'll get Drew's reaction. You have Corbin Burns going up against his former team after a very nasty arbitration a year ago. Corbin Burns should be able to dominate. If you want to take the first 5 instead, I wouldn't mind that because the Orioles bullpen has been shaky and this is a good Brewers team. But both of these teams hit well on Sundays, so I'm going to take the risk that Corbin Burns is going to go at least 6-7 innings again today. Toronto is not about to lose the season's a series against the Rockies. They have Barrios on the mound, who's been really good at keeping the ball low lately. I like the Blue Jays just to get the win. And the Royals versus the Mets. I found this one stat I want to bring up on something that I saw on the Royals today that I absolutely love. And it's the weirdest stat. On Sundays, the Royals are one of the best hitting teams on Sunday, while their pitching has been one of the best. You have Cole Reagans going against the mound against Johnny Brito, I think it is. I don't even know who the hell that is. But Cole Reagans has been a stud. This offense has been hot. So I'm keeping this up I'm keeping with my Royals here. We got KC money line, Baltimore money line, and Toronto money line.
What is the line on those?
We got that at plus 293 is the main line. If you are on DraftKings and you are using DraftKings for this and you haven't used your stepped up parlay boost, you could use it on this and get it over plus 352. So that is what we're locking in as our beat the book lock of the day. If you guys want more plays from us, make sure you check out For Frequency's Sake Quad City on Beat the Book. We post all of our plays there, and when you follow us there, all of our plays get texted directly to your phone, so you don't even need to open the app. Once you follow, every single thing we post will get sent directly to you with a full breakdown, so all you got to do is open up your sportsbook and get it going. Make sure you guys follow us on there. Drew, what's your thoughts on the parlay here?
I like your takes. I mean, Corbin Burns is a monster. That Orioles offense is a monster. I think they'll go in and they'll cool off a really hot Brewers team. So I like that play. What were the other two? I'm sorry.
Toronto money line and the Royals over the Mets.
Oh, the Mets suck, so they'll take that one all day. And I don't just say that because I'm a Braves fan. They legitimately are terrible this year.
They've heated up a bit lately, but I think the Royals were a good team to kind of like check them, like see where they were actually at on it.
Yeah, the Royals have started out hot, and I don't know what's the expected line.
It's at minus 118. It's pretty much close to a split right now.
Okay, and what's the total for number of expected runs?
We're looking at like I want to say 7.5, but don't quote me on that. So 8.5. So all three of these games are at an 8.5 line or a 9 line. They're actually projecting the Brewers game to be very high scoring because of the offenses are both like top 10 right now against righties.
I don't know. I think, yeah, you said that game's about 50-50, right?
Yeah. So Orioles,
right,
since actually, so it's going to be different odds since I made this bet. So since the bet, when I placed it, it's actually went down just a bit. It's at 271 right now because the Orioles went from a minus 180 favorite to a plus or a minus 225, and the Blue Jays went from minus 220 to minus 265. So it's down a little bit, but still that's not enough to kind of sway people away from this one. That's what I'm locking in as the lock of the day. Sundays are always a weird day for baseball, so we're going to try to keep that going. But again, we are 12-5. We were 4-1 in our last 5 in our locks of the day. So we're going to go a little risky today. We're going to keep the money flowing.
No, I like that actually. As long as you don't bet on the Braves to play on Sunday, then you're probably okay.
That's what, I wanted to put that Marlins one in there, but I was like, this would be the day Charlie Morton shows that he's 40.
I don't know what it is. I think they just get out of church in the morning on Sunday and then they roll out to the baseball field.
Yeah, all the Braves fans know Jesus said no baseball on Sunday, so they can't play.
Yeah.
But with that being said, again, guys, follow us give us a like and a subscribe over on YouTube. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. At For Frequency's Sake at all of our socials, at For Frequency's Sake on Beat the Book, where you can get not only all of my bets, but some of the best bets from all the best handicappers that are all across Twitter. And we even have VIP plays where you get even more bets from us at just $1 a day. So make sure you guys come follow along with us in our betting journey. We've been hot in the last couple of days. The last couple of weeks, we have been on a roll with baseball season started. But with that being said, thank you guys all for watching. Thank you guys all for tuning in. This is probably our most viewed broadcast so far since we started the show. So I appreciate, we definitely, I think I speak for Drew here as well, as we appreciate all the views here as we're kind of getting this show going. Thank you guys all. I hope everyone's team wins today, unless you're a Marlins fan. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.